You're all the first men within this series.
What does it cost to replace one employee? And the knowledge drained from the company when you are losing that person. If you can find leaders who are believing in this topic and really putting the efforts, the resources and the time to support it.
What if you don't have an audacious leader within your company?
You need leaders to really speed up the process. DE&I is about you, regardless who you are. Moving from only behavioral inclusion, when we focus on beliefs and behaves, to structural inclusion. And that's what is missing. If you keep just focusing on the e-learnings and events and lunch and dinners and all of those things, yes, they are needed and they are very good, but what is next?
I can't find anyone to make my company more diverse, for example.
DEI is never about lowering the bar. It's about widening the gate. You have data. Engagement scan where you ask people about their opinion. If you don't have the data and the engagement scan, make an engagement scan. You need to invest in that part. And then you can take the next steps. Okay, what is needed? Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk with you as well.
I also want to show that we have Georgia here behind the camera. We have Melle here also. Okay, just start with saying who you are and what do you do, please?
Yes, my name is Hort Wbi. I work in Rabobank as change manager for diversity, equity and inclusion, bringing change to people's life to create an work environment where everyone can feel safe, respected and valued. Based on the great efforts our colleagues and our managers in Rabobank did for the DEI topic, we won the Proofy Award in 2022 about DEI strategy and policies that have been in Rabobank. So it was a moment to celebrate and to see we are on the right track to make an impact, to continue this legacy about DE&I, the first ERG, Employee Resource Groups in Rabobank, started in 1997.
What makes it the work you do here?
DEI most of the time have been seen as something nice to have, but it's not must have. And what Janina Voss, our CHRO, did in 2016, she put DEI topic as a priority on her agenda. And you can see since then the movement really with our previous CEO, Wiebe Dreyer, how they brought this topic to a totally higher level. So what I try to do is that just to collect the knowledge, all the events, all the things that we already have, like programs, projects, from all the ones who worked on this topic before. All of these things combined, I just took it, put it in a frame, in a strategy, where I highlighted the importance of moving from only behavioral inclusion, when we focus on beliefs and behaves, to structural inclusion. And that's what is missing, not only in Netherlands, but also all other companies as well. You can see that still we are focusing on events, launch, on e-learnings, which is very important.
More activity-based.
Which is very important. You need to tackle that because still we are there. People most of the time judge the topic of DEI based on the noise, but not what is really happening. Because if you look, still we are way behind when it comes to this topic. So
behind from who?
Behind from reality, where every person can be themselves and just enter any workforce, work environment without having any armors or any masks, just being themselves, not despite of, but because of their identity, their culture, their gender, their ability, their intellectual, and. So when we reach that point, I think that would be the moment that we can say, now we achieved what needs to be achieved. But until then, still a long path to be taken.
But Hord, I'm very curious, but do you think that's even possible?
Well, we need to try, and it can be possible. Of course, we are not an utopia where everything is going perfect, but still, we have the moral obligation to keep adding and trying and put the efforts needed and the resources to make it a better place. So and as long as you have one person who doesn't feel themselves, their authentic selves, you still have something to do.
I'm very curious because we're talking about DEI, but what is it according to you? What does it mean?
Just the combination of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity is the fact that we are all unique. It's about your gender, your culture, your ethnicity, different ability, your socioeconomic situation, educational background, and characteristics, talent, and. It's a fact. That's diversity. Equity, it's the process to create a fairer processes to onboard, to offboard, to support colleagues in your companies. So it's a process. Inclusion, that's behavior. That's what you do to make others feel safe, respected, and valued. If you can work on these three, belonging is just like the outcome. And that's where you feel that, yes, I am valued, I am safe. So that's the whole chain of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Most of the time, people were shouting for equality. It's unfair. We don't need to be equal in every... No.
We're not simply.
That's it. So we need to acknowledge that fact and make it fairer for the underrepresented groups to be on the same level with others.
And what would you say to people who say, but why should we change anything? We're good, right? I mean, we're getting profit, everything is going well, there's no problem. Why should we start this hype of DEI, you know?
Yes. Well, to start with, like, first statement, we are okay. What is the definition of okay? If you are only measuring your impact based on, like, profit, is it sustainable? Because if you look and search based on data, what does it cost to replace one employee, and the knowledge like drained from the company when you are losing that person, it's very high. Sometimes it goes 1.5 to 2 times the income salary of that person, yearly income salary. Just to replace one person, it takes 6 months to get the knowledge needed from the previous ones, just to transfer the knowledge. So if you talk about numbers, these are also numbers. Decision making can be enhanced 60% if you have a diverse team. Innovation revenue can be increased 18%. Profit can be increased 33%. And this is not coming from myself. You can search McKinsey, Harvard, and other resources. It's all registered and measured. So why is it needed? If making a place where people can be safe is not a priority for you, well, at least we have a business case can convince those who are not interested.
But I'm still thinking about this person who looks at their company and they're like, oh, all these woke activities and I'm just done with it. I can't find anyone to make my company more diverse, for example.
I will not accept that excuse. Like, you can't find anyone, you can just search. It's easy. It's a digital world. So you can just, with 2 clicks, you can find that part. The willingness part, that's different. So if you are not interested, as I've mentioned on the business case, you have the moral case. And if not the moral, you have the business. But if you don't have both, so you don't care about creating a healthy environment, you don't care about the business case and the profits and the innovation revenue and the decision-making process and all of that, well, I would question the purpose of your existence as a company in the first place.
Great. Thank you so much for
that. And maybe to add to that, again, we judge the noise about the topic. The real impact is still to be achieved. It's not there yet. Because when you look in your company and you see a real representation, a mirroring of the society, that's when you can say, well, we are doing okay. Most of the time people come to you and say, yeah, we've had a lot about DEI. A lot of events. A lot of things are happening, workshops, e-learnings. If you really go to the essence, it's going to be only one event with one e-learning and a potential investment in some courses or later on. So people are taking that part, just listening to the word and terminologies without, again, understanding what does it mean in the first place, because DE&I is about you, regardless who you are. It's about you. So why are you resistant to something related to you? Some people misunderstand it. I understand that. But the main idea is that it's about you. So that's something to be considered. 2, we have false assumptions. Oh, we don't want to sacrifice talent for DE&I. Whom on earth mentioned that or believed in that? DEI is never about lowering the bar. It's about widening the gate.
Love it.
Thank you.
Because you said D&I is you, right? It's in
It's
all
everyone.
of us. Yeah.
Yes.
What is your personal connection to the subject?
So I hope, and that's my dream and my why, is to support others to fight and win that individual silent war. So together we can be free to create a world where we can be happy to live to the ones to come. And through my work, and that's why I said it's not a work, it's my passion, because it's related to my why and they are intertwined.
I just want to go back to the strategy you've been talking about in the beginning, and that really inspired me. What is different from using that instead of the behavioral strategy you said? You made the difference.
Yes. If you keep just focusing on the e-learnings and events and lunch and dinners and all of those things, yes, they are needed and they are very good. But what is next? Next, you need to put all the KPIs, all the agreements, all the codes of conduct written in policies. Ingrain that also in processes that guarantees you will have a more diversified hiring process. So these things are the guarantee for you that what you are doing now will continue be going regardless who are taking the lead of the topic. And that's what is needed, because eventually DEI is about every person and it's everyone's right and responsibility to feel safe. So yes, of course, governments, organizations, they have, and others, NGOs, and they have the responsibility. We are not going to belittle that, but also it's your safetyness. So you need to stand up, to really be courageous, to be vocal also about your fears, about your hopes, about your dreams, because it's your right, and also it's your responsibility.
And how do you do that? I mean, you're doing it with Rabobank, but how do you do that as a company? If somebody's looking at this, a D&I lead, and is thinking like, okay, these beautiful, I understand, but how do you start this? I mean, how does it work?
We've mentioned to start with this topic, loads of professionals are dedicating their time and efforts and souls to support companies in this regard. Okay, you don't want to invest any. You have data.
Yeah, so you say you should hire an external company.
Well, external, or invest in your employees. Like the DEI team we have in Rabobank, they are all internal employees. We build the strategy together with our colleagues, with our managers, with our diversity board members. They put the efforts because we know what is needed, and that's we were awarded. But it came from us. If you don't want to invest and you don't want to be resources, I don't know why, but okay, let's go that direction. You have data. Engagement scan, where you ask people about their opinion. If you don't have the data and the engagement scan, make an engagement scan. Start surveying people about how do they feel, do they fit, about their ambitions, about how psychological safety in the company. You need to invest in that part, and then you can take the next steps. Okay, what is needed? So in the DEI strategy, we focus on recruiting and retaining, inclusion and belonging, and unconscious biases and blind spots. So these are three pillars that we focus on. And I always say they are not like sequential. You need to investigate what is missing in your company. Maybe the representation and the diversity is very good, but do people feel included? So you need to focus more on that part. Okay, you have good diversity and good inclusion, but are the processes you have really providing equality and equity for people? If not, you need to invest in diversifying the process that you have. So through equity, all of these things need, but where to start? Just have the pure intention that you really want to make change, that you really believe that individuals deserve to be themselves, and you will support them to thrive, being who they are, and being awarded for being who they are and not despite of. And then things will come across. Like you can reach out, ask. Like with the DI strategy, we always share the knowledge with everyone reach out to.
There are people who want gender neutral toilets, for example, but other people, they don't like that because they want just to go to a men's or a ladies' room.
Yeah.
How do you work with that?
So you can have like access to different facilities also, like in some cases, and people, they have preferences. So you can provide options, and that's the beauty of diversity. It's not binary. It's not either you have this or you have that. Most of the time when it comes to inclusion, it's both and. So you need to invite also other options to be included. But what we did in Rabobank, like loads of projects we are working on to support the DEI topic. We have role models like leaders who are really putting their hearts to make an effort to create a safer environment for their teams and other teams as well.
Yeah, so you need a lot of people and time, right, to invest in it?
You need everyone to be included.
Be on board. Yeah.
And of course you need resources, because you need to put your money where your mouth is. So if you really want to make an impact, you need to invest in it. And again, like based on science, you can see the correlation between these efforts and the outcome, like the profitability that can be done. In Rabobank, like we have a great colleague, Susanne Bijkerk, in Rabo Research. She made a research in the Netherlands about the impact of inclusivity. She studied more than 1,500 companies in the Netherlands.
Oh, wow.
About inclusivity. So it's not only from outside world, it's now, you can like just check that research. It's an eye-opener about the impact of inclusivity when it comes to hiring more people, when it's about like predicting the future and the revenue of the future. It's all there and it's all studied.
Yeah, it's just that we need also to really implement it within the companies, right?
You need to, again, you need to walk the talk and talk.
Yeah, walk the talk.
Yeah, so you need to do that.
And I was wondering, are you having fun, or is it really hard work because it's a lot of questions now? How is the interview going?
It's going so good. Like the balance and the dance with the questions. No, I love it.
Going from there to there, right?
No, it's so good.
What is equity to Rabobank, and how do you bring this into practice?
Yes.
And to what extent?
So the equity part, just to give some examples, like we had the DEI policy and standard. There you can find all everything needed to know about the DEI. What is acceptable in Rabobank? What is needed? How can we do it? KPIs as well are mentioned there. So this is an example about the policy part. So you need to have that. Our friend in Rabo Research, they made a piece of art about how to diversify the hiring process. Different colleagues from Globe, they combined knowledge because they are Rabo Research, most of them are like PhDs, and they conducted this 12 pages of how can you diversify the whole process. It's so good to see, and most of the managers, they reach out to ask, okay, can we use it? What can we do? Whom should we reach out to? So we are having those ideas also. So we focus here about the process as well. Systems, we try also to have systems more accessible for people with different ability. We have like a specific desk, support desk, amazing colleagues who are supporting our colleagues with different ability, with the software, with the movement, so they also provide that support as well. So you have policies, processes, and systems.
What I hear from you is that you really invest. From Janine Vos is her name. She put in like a great foundation, and it's built on that foundation, right?
That's one part, and you need like a really audacious leader who has a long-term vision about what needs to be done. So when she talked about DEI in 2016, we both know like, okay, what do you mean even with the words themselves? So she started there, and that's how that long-term thinking, moonshot thinking about what needs to be done, and taking steps with the support with the other managing board and the CEOs, that's how you can take it to the next step. So, and of course, as I've mentioned, it started way also before. So there are some moves, but you need leaders to really speed up the process.
What if you don't have an audacious leader within your company?
If you have a toxic person, toxic manager, who's really not taking care of their people, who are behaving in an unacceptable behavior, it should be a zero tolerance for those toxic behaviors, because regardless of the positive impact you think they bring, on the long term, these are the ones who are going to screw your company. So if a leader is not committed to the DEI part, so I would say it's a lack of knowledge. So you need to invest resources to educate and to help and to support. The behavioral inclusion is about the beliefs and behaves when it comes to e-learnings, when it comes to events, when it comes to gatherings. That's more focused on the behavioral part. The structural inclusion is based on the policies, systems, and structure. And this is the difference between two. Which one to use as a company? Both. It's not either or. You need both, and both are very important. The behavioral inclusion is important to initiate the knowledge, to spread awareness, to make it more practical. Structural inclusion is to make that change and knowledge sustainable on a long term. So it's not either or, it's the combination of both that's what is needed.
Love it. And this is beautiful because now we clarified the quote. I love it.
We've already touched upon the importance of having leaders to support the DEI initiatives. And that's, of course, like the top-down approach. But also you have the bottom-up approach where colleagues, employees, they can take the ownership and support this topic. Which one is better? Both. Again, it's not either or. It's about the combination of both to support the DEI. So you need leaders who are supporting. But if not, would that give you an excuse not to do anything? Not to feel safe and to feel valued? Of course not. As we've mentioned, it's your right and your responsibility. The two R's, right and responsibility. You have to stand up, to be vocal, to be taking care of yourself, because eventually it's about you. So it's the combination of, that's the holy grail. Like if you can find like leaders who are believing in this topic and really putting the efforts, the resources and the time to support it, that's the top-down, top. And then you also have the bottom-up approach where colleagues are taking the initiative to support. Eventually, when it comes to DEI, we are all leaders. You have the formal and the informal. So don't let labels be the things holding you back from doing the change needs to be done.
Love it. I really love it. So Hort, thank you so much. If you have looked at this video and you have any questions to Hort, to me, to Georgia, to Melle maybe, just let me know and forward this video if you like it so more people can see it. Thank you so much for joining. Some last words?
Well, I value what you shared. I value the time that we all shared and we added to each other's ideas. It's never about shaming and blaming. It's just about learning. So please be open to yourself first and to others, just to enjoy the life and to enjoy being exposed to different knowledge, different cultures, different topics that will enrich you as a human being.
Love it. Okay, well, it's a wrap, I guess. Wow.
Thank you.